community is the compass, built not of sameness, but of voices varied and vibrant, stitched together in a quilt of care and resistance. Let difference be our strength, not our division.
Good evening, and welcome to Politrics. My name is Stevenson, and like always, I'm here with my brother Yates. What's happening, brother Yates? How you? Ashe, my man.
Ashe, brother, I'm hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm all right. Like I was explaining, a little tired. This week has been a little draining mentally. But with all the nonsense that's going on around in politics, I guess a lot of people are feeling a little drained out about now. About
Mhm.
politics out. They're about Trump out. It's about time for him to be out. But as usual, we always start the show of being grateful for something. So my niece, I kind of spoke about her a couple of times on the show. She is in recovery. She's been doing physical therapy. So they got her up. They got all this gear all over her body. She looks like the bionic woman, but she's up. She's doing her thing. So thanking everybody that said a prayer for her. It's been greatly appreciated. And as you can see, prayers do work. So how's your week been, brother?
My week has been good. It's going by at a good pace. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a quick week.
Hmm.
Like everybody, I look forward to the weekends. Spend a little time with the family.
Yeah.
Time to recharge your batteries for the week to come.
Hmm. You get an opportunity to listen to Trump this week?
Well, just bits and pieces. But I just read an article in the Times from Saturday, and it's an interesting article, and it talks about college admissions. So some colleges were using a tool that would allow students of color to get into colleges and universities. Well, Trump wants to close that loophole. There was a program called Landscape, and that program was designed to find uh, I guess, educationally advantaged students and allow them to go to colleges and universities. Well, the Trump administration is basically saying that that is um, akin to affirmative action, which, as you know, has been voted down. So Trump has basically shut down this program called Landscape that would allow, these disadvantaged, they're intellectually gifted, but they don't have the funding to go to college. So Trump is basically ensuring that these young men and women will not receive the college education that they seek. So,
What I see is that it's almost an attack on black folks again. Here we go again with that nonsense again. Every time we try to get a leg up, whether it be through affirmative action, whatever the vehicle, every time we seem to want to get that leg up, they always seem to have a way of pulling us back down financially, or we might as well go back to counting jelly beans.
well, I'll tell you something, right? As you well know, the president has been placing the military into a number of urban centers, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles. And now he's essentially saying he's going to bring war to Chicago.
Mm.
So, what I see happening, or what I see coming, and I'm talking, not too far in the distant future, I can see troops in all of the major urban centers. And, you know, one of the things that is becoming a major issue now is crime. Trump has elevated that issue um, to a national stage, right? And that is his justification for sending these troops into places like DC.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, crime is so low in DC that they have the National Guardsmen and reservists actually picking up trash, right? Because this so-called city that is overrun with crime, well, all of a sudden there's no crime anymore. So they got these young men and women taken away from their families to pick up trash. when there are people that the city employs to do that. But the point I want to make is that I saw on the news yesterday that young black man, he was riding a train. Young Caucasian woman got on the train, sat in front of him. All of a sudden, he got up, produced a knife, and stabbed this woman to death.
My Lord, where was this?
I think this was in Los Angeles. I'm not 100% sure, but it was a commuter train. It was all caught on camera. Then, in another segment on the news, they show where there was a basic smash and grab robbery at a jewelry store. A car backed through the front, glass window, and after the car entered the business, looks like maybe 12 or 15 people rushed and they began to smash the display cases. So
Sounds like something from a movie.
It does. Now, all of these people had their faces covered, right? But I think the implication is that what Trump said the other day about these people being natural born criminals.
Well, he was talking about black people.
See, that's my point, right?
Mm-hmm.
These people, their faces were covered. You can't tell exactly who's behind the mask, but the implication is that these are the people that he's talking about. He's using somewhat coded messaging, but he's making it clear who the enemy is.
Didn't sound too coded to me. I listened to that speech that day, and it didn't sound too coded to me. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it sounds like he was talking about black people. But I want to let people know that the majority of people that commit crimes in this country are not black people. They're white. They're white men. The white men, they commit crimes. I don't know, like go up to a school and shoot up a school, mass murderers, or rapists, or pedophiles, or thieving, robbery, murder, you name it. They're at the top of the list. So my question is, how come they're not being deported and being chased down?
Well, you got to understand something, right? For years in this country, going back to the end of chattel slavery, the face of crime, the face of fear, the face of anxiety has been a black man.
Always, right? Always.
And when I say using somewhat coded language, he's not coming right out and saying who specifically he's speaking about. So he's using somewhat coded language. Now you have to understand something. This is not new, right?
Right.
If you listen to what Trump said just the other day, and you go back and you listen to what Joe Biden said prior to the 1994 crime bill, some of the language is very similar, right? In fact, it was during that time that you had Hillary Clinton using terms like super predators.
Right, that's right. Didn't Clinton use that in her campaign, during her campaign? Wasn't that something that she blurted out? You know?
Well, yeah, but this is not, very much dissimilar to what's being said now, right? It's the same narrative that, these people are dangerous and we need to get them off our streets. Now, when you have ICE being expanded, the budget for ICE, tripling, when you have this country building concentration camps called Alligator Alcatraz, you have to understand something. First, it was about, quote unquote, what's called illegal immigration. Now it's about crime. And when the face of crime in this country is young black men and women, guess who's the next target for law enforcement in this country?
Haven't they been targeting Haitians already? Yeah, it's been another group of us that they've been targeting already.
Absolutely.
And if that's the case, how are they going to know the difference? It's like they've been snatching up people off the streets from the ICE. They don't care whether you got papers or not. You can scream up and down, "I'm American," all you want. They're going to haul you off anyway. How are they going to determine a Haitian between me or someone that's from Haiti? They're going to snatch me up too, throw me on the cart, and then I got to prove that I'm actually an American citizen.
Well, the thing is, they don't really care where you come from, right? Because, just last week, the Supreme Court upheld basically a Trump administration policy that basically gives ICE and other law enforcement agencies the right to racially profile, right? I mean,
Right.
before you couldn't do that, right? There were restrictions against it. Now, the Supreme Court has said that, well, you can do that now under the guise of protecting this country. You can now racially profile people. So who are these people that are going to profile?
Who else are going to
We're
profile? The
talking,
same
we're
people
not
that they've been profiling. The
right. We're
same
not
people.
talking about people from Israel, people from Poland, people from Russia. We're
Oh,
talking
of
about
course.
people from Africa, from the Caribbean, people who are indigenous, people who come from Central South America.
Mm-hmm.
The hunt is on, and that's the prey.
Mm-hmm. And please, when I want to say they, let's keep this DEI thing going, because they're not all inclusive. This is not a message to all white people saying that like we hate you or that we think that you're out to get us, because we understand that a lot of you are on our side. We believe in democracy. This is what we're trying to get to. We're trying to let you know that we believe in democracy, but we want everyone to join into the pot. But those of us that are out there trying to destroy us as a country, destroy us as a people, divide us as a people, those are the people that we're talking about. And unfortunately, those ones at the top, most of them are Caucasian white men. It is what it is.
At work yesterday, I overheard a conversation, and these were a group of teachers, all of them Caucasian, and they were talking about some of the decisions that have come down from the Supreme Court. And I sat there and I just listened, and I wanted to say, have you not been paying attention for the past 300 years? Have you not ever bothered to look at some of the other decisions the Supreme Court has made? You think the Supreme Court just got bad? Go back and look at the Dred Scott case. Go back and look at the fact that the Supreme Court upheld slavery, upheld Jim Crow.
There's some people out there that don't know what the Dred Scott decision is. And I mean, a lot of young people, and I mean that because, civics is not really big in high school. So, in school period, can you please explain to people what the cause and effects of that decision came down, the Dred Scott?
So Dred Scott was enslaved, and his master took him into a free state. So at that point, upon arrival in a free state, Dred Scott believed I should be free because slavery is not allowed or outlawed in this particular state. So Dred Scott took his case before the Supreme Court. That, listen, I was taken into a free state. So by right, I should be free. Well, the Supreme Court decided, well, no, you're not free. You have to return with your master as his property back to this state that does allow slavery. And the Supreme Court said, and this is the Supreme Court of the United States, said that a black man has no rights that a white man must respect in this country. And this is the United States Supreme Court. So when I hear people talk about some of the horrible decisions that are coming out from the Supreme Court, they're no worse than they were 100 years ago or 200 years ago.
Right.
This is the Supreme Court that didn't strike down segregation in the school systems until 1956. And even then, after it was struck down, there was no enforcement, right? No enforcement to force schools, the school districts across this country to comply. So this went on for 30 years.
And they're still messing with the education system. This Linda McMahon, she's doing whatever she wants to do, and she's gonna make a whole piss of money behind these decisions that's been taking place with that. What did you call it? The big beautiful bill, which
Right.
actually was not a big beautiful bill. It kind of is hurting a lot of people, and even our governor, he's signed off on a lot of things. And he's got the nerve to show up at these different town halls saying how good and things that he's doing for Pennsylvania. Really? Not Shapiro. I'm not talking. I'm talking about the congressman.
Okay, you're talking about Bresnahan?
President hand. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you something, right? And I am not a Democrat nor Republican
Right.
because the way I see it, there's not that much of a difference. So if you just look over in New York City, where both of us are from, you have a Democratic mayor in the city of New York, a Democratic mayor that is seeking re-election. Well, Donald Trump, who of course is a Republican, he has reached out to
The courts.
the Eric Adams campaign and is offering Eric Adams an ambassadorship to Saudi Arabia.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Is that the reward that he got for
Well,
well, I guess that's kind of like a reward. So now ICE is gonna run around in the city in New York and snatch up who they want when they get ready to. So I guess that's his reward. That's the payoff.
well, actually, what Trump wants Eric Adams to do is drop out of the mayoral race. So he's offering him the ambassadorship to Saudi Arabia if he will drop out of the race. See, what he wants is a two-man race, Cuomo and Mandani. And of
Right.
course,
They want
Trump
Cuomo
is showing
out.
his support behind Cuomo.
Yeah.
Now, Cuomo's
He's
a
nothing
Democrat.
like his father. I can tell you that.
Well, that's true, but Cuomo is a Democrat, long established Democratic family.
Mm.
Eric Adams is a Democrat. Now, why is a Republican president who talks about Democrats all day long, why is he offering him an ambassadorship?
And we said that a
And
while.
why is he so interested in politics in New York City that he wants to get Eric Adams out of the race and throw his support behind, Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo?
Well, you brought this to my attention a while ago. You said in politics there are no true friends and there are no true enemies. There's only their interest, whatever their true interests are. That's the only thing that matters. Their
And that's what it
political
comes down
party,
to.
right? Their political party really doesn't make a difference. So today they're enemies, tomorrow they're best friends. And it just depends on whatever their interests are at that time, at that given time. And to me, man, Adams, he's in the same boat. He's a crook like all the rest of them, And as far as politicians are concerned, I guess those the ones that are good, that are doing a good job, they don't shine. You don't see them. The ones that's doing a horrible job, those are the ones that you see that are out in the light. You hear from them, you hear their lies, you hear the nonsense that they're putting out. Now, I think it's time. I'm just waiting for that time to come when the American people say enough is enough. And we really start looking to do something about it, because I mean, didn't we go to a war because we had to pay taxes with no representation? So
Correct.
I mean, what representation are we as the American people receiving now? Because they talking about they want to get rid of all the immigrants, they want to get rid of this, they want to do all of these things, and they keep saying that they're doing this for the American people. They're not doing it for me or my grands.
Well, here's the thing, right? What the Trump administration is doing is exactly what was done, say, in the 90s with the crime bill from 1994. It was done in the 70s with Richard Nixon, right? When you find yourself in trouble politically, you want to shift the blame onto others. So going back to, say, the Nixon administration, Nixon decided to have a war on drugs. Well, we found out later on under Reagan that the government had been, in the drug business for years, right? In the late 60s, early 70s, American inner cities was awash in heroin. we don't have any heroin that grows in this country. Most of it was coming from the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia. We were at war with Vietnam, yet Vietnamese heroin was flowing into the arms of addicts in Harlem, in the South Bronx, in Chicago, Philly, and all of the major cities. Now, how could that be? Right? So the government looked at it and saw how valuable a resource drugs can be, how much money can be made. You know, the same thing in 1994. They decided, well, in order to shift, blame away from us, let's blame these young men in the inner cities. These young men that we're providing them with the drugs. We're providing them with the heavy artillery.
Is that the crack era? Is that what you're talking about? The crack era?
The crack era, absolutely. Look, we grew up in New York. Back in the 70s, how many people do you know had an AR-15?
No one.
How many people do you know had an AK-47?
No one really. Now, you know the people that I did know that had it was like the cats that came back from the military.
What if back then?
You had
No.
you had your little box. You had your little your go box.
But in the hood, we had the Saturday night special, right?
Yeah, man.
So how did we get our hands on artillery like AK-47s, like
of course it was
AR-15s,
M16s, man. It was sold to us, given to us, whatever. But like you said the other day, one of the things that I did listen to a Bantu when you were telling me about this. If I give you a gun, that don't mean you got to pull the trigger. That's still your choice. You still have the choice. Just because I give you the tools to do something, that's your choice to whether you want to utilize them or not. And that fence swings both ways. But a lot of I try to empathize, and because the way we grew up was impoverished, and they put us it's like putting a rat in a cage and backing them up in the corner, and we were kind of like that rat backed up in the corner, and we really had nowhere to go. So that crime and for us kind of almost became a way out, a way to pay the bills.
And and you got to understand something, right? For every immigrant group that came into this country, all of them were involved in crime.
Of course.
When for the Italians, well, we know it's well documented about the mafia. For Jewish people that came into this country, I grew up in Brooklyn. In Brownsville, that area was all Jewish. And they produced a gang called Murder Inc. They were the hitmen for the mafia. These were Jews, right? That were killing people for the mafia. If you look at the Irish involved in crime. In fact, one of the preeminent families in this country, the Kennedys. Well, let's be realistic. Joe Kennedy Sr. was a bootlegger, right? So a lot of these well-established families, if you go back and you look at their history and you find out how they made their money, some of it came from alcohol, some of it came from drugs, some of it came from prostitution, i.e. the Trump family. Grandfather, running brothels in Canada.
But see, this is the one thing that they got over us. All of the stuff that they've done, all of the crimes, the immigrants that's come here and become big time criminals and stuff. See, they get glorified. See, we get a label as being a criminal. Al Capone, people worship him. They loved Al Capone, made movies about him, Scarface, the whole nine. See, but when it comes to us, it's always in a negative light. Always in a negative light. It's always hyper. We become hyper criminals, hypersexual, hyper everything. Everything is hyped up to a level when it comes to us, and it's pretty much all negative.
Well,
I want to ask you.
When you win the war, let me just say this: when you win the war, you get to write the story because you get to create your narrative. And see, we've never had the ability to give our side of the story, right? They rush out with their narrative that we are rich fabulously rich, and we worked hard to gain the wealth that we have. That other stuff, the drugs, the alcohol, the prostitution, that stuff is hidden, right? That's something the family doesn't discuss,
Mm-hmm.
right? For us, well, our narrative is controlled by the mainstream media. So anytime there is a crime involving a Black person, it becomes front page news. It is the lead story on the nightly news. Sometimes the same story, if it involves someone who may be Caucasian, they don't show the face. They give you the name, but not the face, right? So it's about the narrative and controlling the narrative.
Yeah, you ever notice when you watch television, right? I try to picture. So something happens, like the shooting, where the little 14-year-old boy, I believe he went into the school and he shot like 14 people up, killed 2 kids. It was a horrible tragedy, right? But I could always tell it was a white person. You know why?
They don't show the face.
No, not only they don't have to show the face or not. They never say it. If it's a Black person, they'll say it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a Hispanic person, Spanish, whoever, they'll always tell you their nationality. They don't have a problem
Mm-hmm.
bringing that out. When it comes to the white people, nope. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
could always tell it was a white person that committed the crime
Mm-hmm.
because
Feeds
they
into the
never mention.
narrative.
I'm
It
sorry.
feeds into that. It feeds into that narrative that Black people, brown people are the criminals, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's almost laughable for Trump to get up there and talk about people being natural born criminals when you have more felony convictions than any of them, right? I mean, if anybody in this country has 34 felony convictions, how many of them are in a prominent role? None.
None of them.
Right, none. But
Oh,
he's
so
up there talking about these people are natural born criminals when he and his family are a walking Rico statue.
look. We talked about that last week too, man. You know, other people are pulling his strings. Somebody who's got a lot more money, they've been around a lot longer. They're the ones that's pulling his strings and telling him what to do, yay or nay. Because the man is not. He's not the most intelligent. He's a dumb ass. Excuse me. I
Mhm.
listened to some of the things he said. You know, you had to ask him one day. He was saying that Kamala Harris was a Marxist, and somebody asked him, "But what is a Marxist?" He couldn't. He didn't know. He didn't
Of
know.
course he doesn't. He just throws stuff out there, right?
I hope it's
Yeah,
thick.
there's so much Trump is unaware of, but he really doesn't need to be because nobody is really fact checking him. His supporters support him regardless of the fact that he lied about ending the war between Ukraine and Russia. He lied about bringing prices down. He lied about fixing the economy. He lied about draining the swamp. He
He
lies
lied
about
about building a
every
wall,
damn
and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. He
right,
lied about Barack Obama being from Kenya and not being a natural born American citizen. He also lied about the 5 people that he wanted to have them put in jail and executed for a crime that they did not commit. You know, the
right.
Central Park 5. This
Mhm,
man lies, and more lies. And as far as the fact checkers are concerned, no, you don't. There's nobody left to fact check him because he fires them or get rid of them, or he'll get on the air and he'll disqualify them. He'll
mhm.
say things like you're not qualified, you're not this. He'll start to attack them and make them look like idiots when they do start to fact check them, like he did with the news reporter. He said, "What are you fucking?" You know, he got pissed off because the guy asked him a question about whether or not he should be deported or not,
Right.
based on the rules and regulations of the Natural Born Citizen Act, whatever that bill was going to be.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's. I think a lot of people now are beginning to see past the lies, right? There's always going to be a core. Uh, he's always going to have a core following, right? Um, the devil had his army of fallen angels, right? And, Trump is no different. He has his legion of fallen angels who are going to follow him regardless. But for Trump, Trump has failed at every business he's ever started.
Yeah, we know that, boss.
And now he's been handed the keys to this empire, and the empire is crumbling. In fact, I saw something the other day where Israel that America has fought a number of wars for, Israel that America basically provides, probably a third or more of its funding, Israel that receives the best of American weapons, Israel that recently got a bill passed through the Congress that will provide health care and a pension for Israeli veterans.
Ain't that? Yeah, I heard about that one.
Now,
Israel
is basically saying they're shifting away from America, that they are looking to build closer ties with Asia. In other words, China. Because they know that the power now has shifted, and it's shifted to the east. And they realize that America is done.
And we got people over here that's crying about the Medicaid right now, and that these people on the Hill are trying to take all the funding and money away from Medicare. We're going to have all these people that are in need of Medicare, but yet we're sending money over to the Israel for Jews for them to have funding or have funding for their medical. With that, the average citizen, I believe, they don't pay for medical over there. That's
they don't.
To the
Nor
government.
do they pay for education. It is all provided by American taxpayers. See, those are one of the reasons why we constantly have this shift. Don't look over here. Don't look at where your tax dollars are being spent. Look over there. See those people? They're breaking into a store. See those people? They're breaking into a car. Never mind the fact that I'm raising the deficit by another $3 or $4 trillion. Pay no attention to that. Pay no attention to the fact that, yes, I've accepted a $300 million plane from Qatar, and I said that they sponsor terrorism. Pay no attention to that. Pay no attention to the fact that all of these deals that I said I was going to sign to bring to this country, pay no attention to the fact that none of these deals have been signed yet. Pay no attention to the fact that none of this stuff I'm promising, none of it is coming to fruition. Pay no attention to that. Watch these people break into this car. Watch these people as they burn down, a store, right? That's what you need to pay attention to. Don't pay any attention to the fact that RFK Jr., who I appointed as the chairman of Health and Human Services, has now got Florida to end their vaccine mandate for all of their residents. So now what's going to happen when the next plague like COVID hits? And
how about like Polo decide to make a return? How about that? Remember how bad Polo was? Remember how bad that was?
You know what? It has returned. They're talking about now giving out another polio vaccine. So a lot of these diseases that we thought had been eradicated, somehow they're managing to come back. And yet we want to take people down in a huge state like Florida and tell them no more vaccine mandate.
No more vaccine. That's ridiculous. I thought that was one of the dumbest things you could do. And I hear people try to tell me, well, it should be up to the individual, right? Yeah, but if you got a disease that other people can catch by airborne diseases or diseases that and you're gonna decide that you're gonna be out with a whole bunch of people, that's your decision. Now, when you get out there with a whole bunch of people and you can make a whole bunch of people say, yeah, your ass should be vaccinated. Okay, because now it's just saying that you don't care about everyone else. You're just thinking about you and what's going on with you and how you feel morally about something. But because you feel that way, you may be a carrier.
Well,
you may go out there and give somebody else the damn disease and get them killed. But that's okay, right?
Well, you know something? Here's the thing. They're saying no vaccine mandate for Floridians, right? What happens when Floridians go on vacation, they decide to come up to New York?
Hmm.
What happens when they want to go to the water park here in the Poconos?
Hmm.
And they're carrying some disease that could have been, prevented if they taken that vaccine. Nothing says they have to stay in their state. Nothing said they can't leave the United States. So what happens if you go abroad and you catch something abroad and now you bring it back here
How about
because
that?
you haven't been vaccinated and you begin to wipe people out? Isn't that what happened with COVID-19?
Hmm. Oh, but
So,
he'll look to blame it. It's like this is what he'll do. He'll blame everything on the Biden administration, as though every time I hear something is messed up or, well, look, it was because of the Biden administration. Like they talked about inflation and how everything was so high, and this is why we had to vote for Donald Trump. But they didn't tell you that all of the tax codes that were in place by Donald Trump during his administration, and that's what caused the inflation. But they don't want to say that. They just want to keep pointing the finger at the easier target, I guess,
mhm.
instead of the real target.
Well,
Like with this Epstein nonsense, this Epstein case. I'm going to tell you, with all of the stuff this man has gone through and evaded, all of the crimes that he have evaded, because he should be in jail. He should be under the jail with all of the things that he's done. I don't think that this Epstein is going to make a difference. They're going to redact it. It's like they're already trying to take certain people's name out of it. So that means this is some sort of conspiracy, right? Right.
Mhm.
And if it's a conspiracy, then we go into the what do you call it? What do you call it? The Roscoe thing? I'm gonna say it wrong. When you have a conspiracy of crime,
a RICO.
a RICO. So this will turn into a RICO, right? And the president and a whole bunch of other people are going to be implicated in it, and that's why they're going to redact it. And you're not going to see anything with his name or anyone else that he doesn't want in there. So this Epstein is going to blow away. But in the interim, he's still he's still deporting a whole bunch of immigrants. He's still doing that. The tariffs are still going on, so prices are going to be risen up around us. The medical is still going to be cut out, so we're still going to be losing that. The man decided Kennedy, he decided to take money from cancer research. Okay, and by the way, this month is prostate cancer month. For those that don't know, right? He's taking money out of that. He's taking money out of every social service that America has. He will look for the one person that they consider to be fraud or waste. They'll look for that little 5%, but he'll punish everybody by taking it away from everybody. Where's the money going? When you're not going to give it to them, you're not going to give it to them. I see it going to ICE, and I guess part of it's going to the military. Where's the rest of it going?
So here's the problem for Trump and those around him. Just last week, there was a summit. Trump wasn't invited. The U.S. wasn't invited. It was Russia, it was China, it was North Korea, and it was India.
And don't forget Africa.
Some of America's largest trading partners, right, have gotten together and they're looking past the United States. They realize what we have yet to see, and that's that America's done. America does not have the political clout. America is no longer the world's largest economy. We've been surpassed by China. America doesn't have control of most of the world's valuables. China does. China has control over 70% of the world's rare earth minerals. That's China. And now they're getting together with another superpower, Russia. They have North Korea on board and they have India, right? Why do they need the United States anymore? Why are you going to pay some ridiculous tariff when you can trade amongst yourselves?
That's right.
And once they start doing that, what happens to the U.S. economy?
It's going to go down because we need them more than they need us. Okay.
Absolutely.
And they keep talking about, the thing about bringing manufacturers of different jobs back to this country. Yeah. Okay. They forgot about AI. And over the past couple of years, a lot of jobs in this country have been lost already to AI. So those jobs like the telemarketing jobs and any community service jobs like that, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone to AI. So still, they're not going to be going to the American people because now that's who you got to compete against is AI.
Well, did you see the most recent jobs report?
Yeah.
The most recent jobs report for August showed that the economy created a grand total of 22,000 jobs for the month of August,
shit.
right? That's not even enough for a small town in America, right? The month before that, I think it was 73,000. So that's the net loss of what, 51,000 jobs from 1 month, just from 1 month to the next. Who are you going to fire now, Mr. President? So right now, this country is bleeding jobs. This country is drowning in debt. This country is over tariffed, right? And this idiot wants to add additional tariffs. But who are you hurting, Mr. President? You
His own
see
constituents.
congressmen.
He's hurting all of the American people, and he does not give a shit. The only thing that they care about is that 1%. If you got a billion behind your title, you're good to go. You're good to
But
go. You got generational wealth, so your family's good to go, and that's the only people that they care about. Like you know, they put up all of these smoke screens, and the way that they try to divide us as a people, and the way they divide us as a community, the way that this man is going into the inner cities. Don't think everybody's going to talk about, oh, he's going into the black cities. Whoa, he's messing with the black man. Again, it's a way of causing the division between any and black people, white people. The migrants, as they call them, the Spanish speaking people. I see black people looking at them as though they've committed they're the criminals now.
well,
You see?
I think one of the problems Trump, if he's not having it already, going to have, well, he's having it already, right? The major corporations that maybe 1.5% of the US economy that is just super wealthy, these people that are investing in American companies. And now these American companies are not producing. Just, I use the farmers as an example. In this country, America was the #1 producer of soybeans. Soybeans that we would sell to China and throughout Asia. Well, now with the tariffs in place, China's not buying no soybeans. You know how many farmers in this country are facing financial ruin? Because you have to figure the soybeans you would sell that would give you money for farm equipment, to pay your mortgage, to pay your taxes, to feed your family. Now, no sales. Nobody's buying their soybeans, which the government would encourage them, incentivize them to grow soybeans. Now, what do? You have a glut of soybeans sitting on the market. If you have a overproduction of soybeans, stock prices drop. China's not buying them anyway. So what happens if China just sits back and waits till the stock price is down to maybe $1 a pound? Then they snatch them up on the cheap. Well, for China, it works out great. For the American farmer, they lose everything. And now they're having these prayer groups, right? These are the people that supported Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Trump, but now they're catching hell.
What do we call it? We call it voters' remorse.
Right, right. That's what they have now. Too late now.
Too late?
Yeah.
Too late. We're going to pick this up on the other side. We take, and my stomach is going, I'm hungry.
I hear you, brother.
I know you must be about that time, too. So
yes, sir.
Let's pick it up where we left off this week. I really like to pick it up to see what's going to go on with this Epstein case. I mean, I just keep hearing about it. And I know it's just a snow job or it's just something to blind us, to keep us looking in that direction. But I like to keep my eye on it. Just to see, shit. What do they call it? S and giggles. Just to see what happens, All right. So I'm going to say, Ashe, my brother.
Ashe, brother.
And I'm gonna check you out next week. Thank you guys, all you guys, for tuning in. We truly appreciate it. You can hit that like or that subscribe button. We really do appreciate that. You also can give us a call. The number is always down at the bottom of the screen. You can give us a call. We appreciate a call and see what's going on with you guys, what thoughts that you have. Now, tomorrow I'm going to have a young man come on, but since we've been talking about DC, I got a hold of someone that lives in DC, and we're going to do a little chit chat about, as boots on the ground, as they would say, or we're going to look at it from the viewpoint from someone who actually lives, works, in DC. My name is Kendall Stevenson. This is Politrics. I'm always with my man, Ronald Yates. So, peace, and we're out.
Peace. Peace.